Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a project recipe for a collection that came out again a long time ago, and just like last week. This collection also came out in 2018. It was called Gathered Together. So if you have this one, pull it out of your stash. It's a really nice collection. I only had like just minimal pieces left of this collection, but I am going to use them because I want to use it up, right? And it's really pretty paper. So we're going to use that and put the project recipe together. I may have to get a little bit creative here and there. We'll see how it goes. And we may use a different punch than what they called for. We'll just see how that goes too. But let's check out my workspace and get started. All right, so you can see from looking at the sample on our on the Gathered Together project recipe that this is a lot like the layout, the project recipe we did just last week, in that it's got this large swath that goes kind of through the middle and then a top and a bottom. So we're going to do some punching, we're going to do some cutting. You're going to need 2 base sheets, and according to the directions for this project recipe, it actually calls for using beige cardstock as your base sheets on this. But I'm going to actually do something a little bit different. Follow me or don't, it's up to you, like it always is. But I just thought I would try something a little bit different because, as I mentioned before, I don't have very much paper from this collection that's left, and so I just kind of want to use it. And I have 2 sheets of this print right here. So that's going to be what I'm using for my base sheets. And look how dark it is. I'm really not sure how this is going to turn out, but I just want to try it and see how it might work. If it doesn't look right, then don't follow my lead and use a beige or something like that for your base. But maybe it'll turn out cool. Who knows, right? We're going to use the Garland Border Maker punch just like we did in last week's project recipe. And so if you have this, go ahead and get it out. Again, I'm sorry for those of you who don't have this particular one. Honestly, we haven't had one similar to this for a while, so I'm kind of hoping that Home Office will be designing something else that might work and be just as nice as this particular punch is fun to use. You can see how it's used all the way across the very top of the design. So if you have a swag, maybe a chain punch that's a swag that you want to do all the way across, you certainly could do that instead. But just keep in mind that it might require a little bit of additional paper for you to do that. But I'm going to be punching this design out of the paper that I have here. So anyway, let me move on. Okay, so let's grab my trimmer. Oh, let me run through the other papers. Wow, I'm a little scattered today. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we've got our 2 base sheets. Then I have this collection had this really cool plaid with all the different shades of green and the peach, or kind of a very light orange color coming through. I just thought it was the neatest plaid. So we're going to use this one today, and we're going to use this tone on tone of orange leaves and trees and things like that. So I think it's going to turn out fun. Well, let's get started and we'll see. Here's our cutting guide. Our cutting guide, you'll notice, only has the 2 designer sheets that we're going to be cutting and our base sheets. I'm going to move my base sheets out of the way so that we have more room, and I'll get those back out later. So the first piece that we're going to use for our base sheet is our plaid. Our plaid is going to be designer paper number 1, and it's going to be represented by this pink field right here, and then the orange will be represented by the yellow or the gold field right here. So I'm going to just scoot this over, grab my trimmer, and we'll get started with these. Now, this says punch and then cut. So these are pieces that are going to go across the top of each of these pages, okay? So we're going to punch them first. Glad I read that first before I got too excited. So putting the trimmer back, then I'm gonna grab my border maker system and we're gonna just punch a border along the edge of this. This is a non-directional paper, so it doesn't really matter which way you put it into the holder. And I'm just gonna put my cartridge right in there, right? And then we're going to line it up, lock in those teeth, and go ahead and just punch out that cute garland design all the way across. Now, the pieces we're going, this piece we're going to cut off in just a second when I get my trimmer back out, is actually wide enough that you probably could, you probably wouldn't have any trouble putting it in here, just that piece that needed to be punched. But for some reason they want us to punch and then cut. So I'm going to follow the directions because later I'm not going to follow the directions. So right now we're going to be obedient, right? Okay, I'm going to put these leaves. They have these very large flowers on the back. That's not really my style, that type of a print. So I just decided I like the orange side better. And we're going to use the orange side. All right. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and cut some with our trimmer. We're going to start with our plaid, and we're going to turn it so that the punched side is to the left. You can see it here on my trimmer. There's my punched side. And I'm going to cut this at 3.5 inches. So I'm going to put the edge of my paper right there at 3.5. And there's one piece. Then I'm going to cut another one at 3.5. Then I'm going to cut a piece at 1/2 inch. So to do the 1/2 inch, I'm going to slide it over to the left. And you've heard me say this before if you've been watching my channel. I like to put as much of my paper on the shoulder as I possibly can. So if I'm only cutting 1/2 inch, I'm going to measure that on the right side of my cutting line rather than on the left. That way I can keep the larger balance of my paper on a straight line and keep my paper straight. 1/2 inch is going to be the very first grid line on the right hand side, which makes it super easy to measure. You can almost do it without even thinking. There's our 1/2 inch piece. Then we should have, if we did this right, we should have roughly 4.5 inches left. I have just slightly more than 4.5 inches, so just in the interest of being a little more precise, I'm going to just take off that little tiny lip. I don't always do that. Sometimes I just leave it on if I know I'm doing mats, and these are mats, but anyway, we'll just try it this time. Okay, I'm going to do a 4.5 inch square, so we're going to measure to 4.5 inches on that side. On the left, we've got a 4.5 inch square. And I'm going to set that up there because I believe that's a mat. Then we need a 6.5 inch square. So I'm going to grab my arm out and move this to 6.5. And there's a mat. And this extra piece, don't get rid of this extra piece. This is a 4.5 by 1 inch piece. And that is part of the cutting guide. So don't get rid of it. So now we're going to go ahead and move over to our sorry, just double checking here. It doesn't tell me to punch another piece. Why does it not tell me to punch another piece? we have 2 pieces punched up there. All right, let me just check the instructions really quick. Using the garland border, punch along the edge of my base paper. Aha, so we need to punch the base paper. Okay, when I get my base paper back down here, we'll need to do that. So we're going to punch the top of the base paper to make that extra piece. So that means I probably didn't need to punch this edge. My bad. Sorry guys, I think I was just going on a hunch. But so we have this edge over here we're not using. So I'm just gonna leave that to the right and not worry about it for right now. Okay, so we're gonna cut 5 inches off the solid side, 5 by 12. Then we're going to cut a 1/2 inch. So I'm just gonna turn my paper around to make cutting that 1/2 inch easier. So there's my 1/2 inch piece. Then I'm going to cut a 3 inch piece. So we're gonna turn this back around. We're gonna cut 3 inches. And if you are following along with me, let me tell you now, this only has us cutting 2 3-inch squares, but I am going to cut 4 3-inch squares. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this paper at 6 inches. Then I'm going to stack it, and I'm going to cut it at 3 inches. So I end up with 4 3-inch squares. I'll show you why here in just a second. Okay, so there's those. Then I also need 2 more 1-inch pieces. So I'm going to use my 1-inch mark on the right hand side. We're going to do 1 and 2, and that will leave me with this punched strip that I have that I can use on something else. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so we'll just set that aside. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll try to put a note on the video so that you don't make the same mistake I do and waste some paper. All right, so, I mean, it's not a waste, obviously, but we're not going to use it today. Okay, so let's go back to our project recipe, and we need to punch that extra bit, the extra strip on our base page. Hold on just a second. I have just a little flyaway piece of cuticle that was just kind of bugging me. All right, so I'm going to take just one of my base pages and grab my border maker system again so that I can go ahead and just punch one edge of this. Here we go. Okay. This punch sure does give you a lot of confetti, I have to say. All right, there we go. Okay, so our bases are ready now, and now we need to just go ahead and assemble all of our pieces onto our base sheets. So I'm going to start on the left because I can. Now the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and take our punched piece, and I just want to see what it looks like on this dark paper. So I suppose you can see it. I was kind of concerned that it would be a little bit difficult to see given that the plaid is so busy and with the dark underneath. think it would be even more difficult this way. Yeah, you lose the punch completely going this way. The only other thing we could do would be to turn it over and use this side, but this side is also very busy. However, you do see the design better. All right, let's check a couple things. So these 2 orange strips that we cut at the very end that are just 1 inch, one of those strips is meant to go behind the design up here to emphasize that. And I'm not sure where the other one, well, the other one it looks like is also meant to go behind it. So this one would look like that. And this one would have the orange behind the plaid, like that. All right, so I think I can get behind it doing that. It may be difficult for you to see on the camera, but looking at it here on my work table, I think I like that. It's not nearly as busy looking. It shows up much better. So I think we'll just go with that. So that means I need to go ahead and add these orange pieces to the back of the punched out pieces. Okay, so I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive. I'm going to place the repositionable adhesive across the openings on the back where I punched, kind of just all the way across. Then I'm going to take the orange paper and I'm going to lay it on orange side down on top of the adhesive, about 1/8 of an inch from the edge closest to me. And then it's going to cover all of the punched openings. See, just like that. Okay, and then that will go on there. And we'll do the same thing with this guy. We're going to go all the way across, like so. Then take the orange side down. Make sure I'm covering all the punched spaces, about 1/8 of an inch from the edge closest to me. So you can see I only have 1/8 of an inch of the paper, the white paper, on this side, and that allows me to make sure that I get all of the holes backed. Right? Now I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive to this border so that I can adhere that to the top. Okay, so this is going to go, I'm just going to turn it upside down just because, just for fun. And I'm going to place this right along the edge. And I missed it, just barely missed it. What do they say? It's like missing it by a hair. Come on. I just need to adjust it just the tiniest bit. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay, now we've got our 2 pages going. Now we're going to come over here and let's see. The wide piece we cut is meant to go on this side, the right-hand side. So this piece is meant to go here. It can either be that side or you can flip it over to the other, but I think for my purposes, I'm trying to think now. So the frames or the mats that are going to go on this side are made from the same paper. I can either flip the mats and do the mats like this, or I can flip the strip over and do the mats like this. Oh, I think I like the mats orange better than you think you like the mats orange? I think I do, and then we'll make the mat on this side orange also. Oh no, we can't because they're going to be green. How'd that work out? Huh. All right, well, that seems odd to me that they would have us cut those like that, but so that one's gonna need to be flipped over so that it's not the same as the top, which means that one will need to be flipped over. Or we could, okay, see, remember how I said we were gonna be kind of messing with this a little bit? I think I want to flip this and use this differently. And then that would enable us to use the orange on this side. This piece needs to go down here. And it'll be on both sides. And the orange will be on both sides. And this orange is going to go across the top of here. Am I crazy? Does that work? I think that works. I'm going to go with it, because I'm just not a fan of those giant flowers like they've used here. And the dark on dark is not, I don't like the dark on the dark. Okay, but this is gonna work. I'm excited, this is gonna work. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're gonna put this, we've got that right along the edge. So we're going to, I'm gonna grab my other adhesive. I'm so excited, I'm losing track of where I'm at. Okay, so we're just gonna put some permanent adhesive down both sides of this and a little bit on the very end. This is this piece, which is piece B, if you were following along on the cutting guide. This is 3.5 by 12. We're not using the reverse. It's said to use the reverse. I'm not going to do that. Sometimes when you have limited papers, you just kind of have to play with it and decide what you want to do, because the papers just are not, they're not what you expect, right? So we do what we can do. All right, so that one's going to go there. This one's going to go over here. And we're going to do, the orange side. And I'm going to do my repositionable adhesive. This is the 1/2 inch piece. And this one just sits right on top of this 3.5 inch by 12 piece. It goes all the way across. Picks up the orange from up here, and then we're also going to use these mats on this page. So there will be a lot of orange there eventually. All right, over here on this side, we are going to put down this piece of of this piece of paper. This is the yellow swath that goes across here, and that is piece G, if you are following along that way. Okay, this is going to sit right at the bottom of the plaid paper here and the bottom of the orange strip on this side. Okay, so that's going to go across that way. And then this plaid strip that we have cut, the 1/2 inch plaid strip that we have cut, this one is going to go, I'll show you, hang on just a second. I'll put a little adhesive on here. Okay, this one is going to go across the top of the orange. So it's going to go on top of the orange paper, right across. Can you see that? It goes right on top of the orange paper with the top borders matching. Okay, so right across like that. So then what we get is we get an orange, or orange and orange, and plaid. Okay, that's not the way. I have completely diverted from from the way this is over here, as far as which papers are flipped and which are not flipped and that kind of thing. And I'm sorry for that, because I'm sure it would be lovely either way it went. I just have very particular feelings about certain color combinations and prints. And that's just me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add these mats. You know, a lot of times I just add my mats with temporary adhesive so that they can be moved around and stuff. This time I'm going to go ahead and just put them down. This is going to go about 3/4 of an inch from the outside edge, and let's see, that's supposed to be a little bit higher. So I think we'll make this about there. So that's what? That's about 1.5 inches from the bottom. So 1.5 inches from the bottom, roughly 1/2 inch, maybe more like 5/8 of an inch from the outside edge. And then the square, our 4.5 inch square, is going to go roughly 3/4, well, I'm sorry, about the same amount from the center line that our other mat was from the outside edge. So about 5/8 of an inch from there, about 1/4 of an inch up from the mat here, about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of our punch design at the top. Okay, now we have room where we can journal right here. We can add some embellishing here and maybe up here, and then our this page over here is basically just I've flip-flopped them basically. So we're going to use this piece, and this piece becomes a flag. So if you have your flag punch, you can easily cut this into a flag, or you can just cut this using your own scissors. If you look at the sample that they've done, they've actually done an inverted flag. Can you see that? How it comes to a point and comes back, instead of the point being, instead of the center point being centered into the ribbon and the outside points on the outside, it's got a rounded point in the center, and the outside points are more up on the ribbon. Does that make sense? I'm totally not describing that very well, but anyway, it looks a little bit more like like a signpost that's pointing a direction instead of a ribbon. Okay, so we can do that. We can use our, excuse me, I can use my, ladies, my brain. I can use these cute scissors, and we're gonna fold this in half, just like we do when we make a regular flag. Put our corners together without punching, right? And I'm gonna hold it from the opposite side so that those points are out. Then I'm gonna start in the center at the fold, if I can do it. It might require an actual hard fold just because my paper didn't bend very well. There we go. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start from the fold in the center and kind of work my way back so that I have kind of a more rounded point. But it's even on both sides because I folded the paper, right? Okay. So then this is well, I have just completely made this backwards, so I apologize for that, but let's try. We'll just make it our own, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this down here on the orange. I'm gonna put it about halfway into the orange band so that it stands out a little bit better. Okay, we've got that as our flag. And then I'm going to use these four to create, let's see if I can't do 4 across because 3 inches is too much for 4 across, but I could do 3 across. We can move 1 up and do 1 here, and then we could do our unmatted photo like we've got here across the bottom like that. So we've got 4 mats. These would be for 2.5 inch photos or 2 3/4 inch photos square, and then this would be for a 3.5 by 5.5 inch photo that would go there. I'm sorry, this would be a 6 by 4 photo because there's no mat for it. Yeah, and then this would be a 4 inch photo. This would be a 4 inch by 6 inch photo. So just like that. And then if you didn't want to add too much journaling, you could actually put another 4 by 6 photo here and maybe even another small photo here if you wanted, or you could use this spot for journaling and put a 4 by 6 photo here. There's just a lot of opportunities for many, many photos in this layout, many more than what they initially designed it for. So keep that in mind and just try to be flexible when you put it together because it can have so many more. This only has 5 pictures on a 2-page layout, and 2 of them are 2.5 by 2.5, which to me, there's just a lot of space that could have been used for pictures when I look at this. So, but that's the way I scrapbook. Not everyone scrapbooks that way. Not everyone has, a ton of pictures to try to make fit. So I get that. You do you. Okay, so I do have some of the stickers left from this particular collection. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and do some embellishments. And I want to first of all go ahead and do something over here on this, on our little arrow, so that we can draw a little bit more attention to him. So let's see, we're gonna do those 2 flowers and maybe a leaf or 2. We have lots of leaves we can use, so that's good news, right? We could use some of this too. All right, so we've got our flowers, we've got a few leaves. We could do this leaf coming kind of down instead. I don't really like that though. So let's do him kind of off to the side. Okay, I'm gonna grab some foam squares and get this put together. I think as part of our, where are my foam squares? I must have pulled them out because I didn't see them. I can't feel them, I mean. Oh, there they are. Ta-da. What I was trying to say is in the new beginners series I'm going to start in January, I think we're going to do some learning about different types of clusters. So if that interests you, if you have concerns about how to create clusters, then that might be something that you would like to tune in for, even if you're not a beginning scrapbooker. Although I did have one of you mentioned the other day that even when you're not a beginning scrapbooker, it's helpful to watch things like that, because you never know what you might have forgotten or what you might pick up on, right? So we're going to put that, I think, right there, popped up. And I promise I'll do some due diligence research and come up with some good information for all of us to remember. Okay, so I'm going to, I love this Plant Smiles, Grow Giggles, Harvest Love. That's just really cool to me. And since we have gold going on over here, we're going to do that gold going on over here to bring it to the other side of the page. I want to do, I think, this large pumpkin though right in this space. So I think we'll do the Plant Smiles, Grow Giggles, Harvest Love up in the corner. It's gonna need a little bit of something underneath it though. We could just give it some extra leaves. I've got all these extra leaves. Let's just pull a few of these. So we'll just kind of make a pile of some extra leaves. Let's do orange. And let's do let's do one of these guys right here. Just kind of woven in there. I like that. I think that looks nice. All right, so let's get some foam squares on this guy. So he can stand up off the page too. And put a tiny one there to just kind of lift that up, and maybe a couple of these larger ones just to kind of keep the center from, maybe we'll just put a little one over here. That seems like a lot of foam squares, but I didn't want it to kind of cave, so I think that'll work. Okay, so there we've got that. I think we're going to use this big giant one right here, which basically is its own cluster, which is kind of why I wanted to make sure I use it, because it's it's already its own unit. And I'm going to just sort of put it a little bit down into our background paper. And I'm sticking this straight down just so that it doesn't interfere with anything. Okay. You don't always have to put everything popped up on foam if you don't want to. Let's see if there's anything else that I absolutely have to use this time around, or if there's something I want to save. I really don't have any more of this paper, so if there's anything on here that, you know, I can use some of this in other layouts for sure, so I won't throw it out, but it just might not be something that we need, you know, for everything here. I'm just going to add a heart to that, just very subtle. I think actually I'm just going to leave it like that. I don't think I'm going to add anything else. So let me go ahead and put these down. I'm just going to use some repositionable though, because if we don't have this many photos that need to be on this page eventually, then that way I can remove them and not have too big of a deal, right? So but a little bit of repositionable adhesive will help them all kind of stick together so I don't lose the mats. And I just put permanent adhesive instead of repositionable. All right, who was supposed to watch me? Repo is my friend. Is it on there? Yeah, okay. Sometimes, you know, you can't hardly see it. All right, so we've got that one. This one will go underneath here. I think that would look good. This one will go here. I just need to stick these guys down, and then I think we are done. So I'm trying to remember on my calendar where this layout is going to be posted. I think this is Thanksgiving week. I believe it is Thanksgiving week. So, happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you are gathering together with those you love. And I hope that you're taking lots and lots of pictures that you can use on the layouts that we've been creating this month together. But most importantly, I hope that you're getting into the pictures, because that's important. I think there are a lot of us who shy away from that, but we really do need to let our families have those memories of us. You know? So, get in front of the camera, hand your phone to someone if you're the one that usually takes pictures, or do a selfie if you're good at those. I'm not, but if if you're good at selfies, be sure you take several pictures with you in them. That's my suggestion of the day. And I hope you enjoy your wonderful time with your family. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Thanks for bearing with me today and all the flips and twists and changes that we made to this project recipe. I think it didn't turn out so bad. It's different, but I think it didn't turn out too bad. You have a great day now.